This week on Talking Royals, President Macron gets a very warm Windsor welcome.
Kissing hands, kissing cheeks. I think the King and President Macron clasped hands for about 28 seconds.
But don't forget, this was all about the welcome before they got into the nitty-gritty politics.
We love monarchy, but especially when it's not at home.
We're about to see more of Prince Andrew as the FBI drops its investigation.
Were Prince Andrew to want to do any travelling and go on a plane, it's a lot easier for him to do that now.
And what's on the menu at a royal banquet? Well, we'll be sampling some of the delicacies.
Ooh, golly.
I can smell the pastis.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Charlene White and Chris and Lizzie are here, of course. And we've had a bit of a spruce up.
I call it an upgrade, yeah?
An upgrade.
Yeah.
We got, we...
Comfy chairs.
Yeah. Got a bit of a shop.
Sitting comfy. It's nice. It's really
Then we're
nice.
not on those high stools anymore.
I'm getting too old for those in any case, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think these are much better.
And unfortunately, it means the three of us now have to wear decent footwear.
Yep.
Which we didn't have.
You told me I wasn't allowed to wear my dirty trainers.
Chris's must be straight out
I mean,
of
I'm
the box.
blinded by the whiteness
yeah.
and
I'm going
neatness of your trainers
hide them
right now,
under
to be
the
honest.
chair somewhere.
So how's the week been?
Good. Well, we've had a busy week because obviously the King does one of his most important jobs, which is welcoming a visiting head of state. Yes. And of course, it was Monsieur Macron. And the next one, of course, is Mr. Trump. So he's got a busy couple of months. And I suppose Windsor Castle, where they had to hold it, we've said this before because Buckingham Palace is having its upgrade, like we've done, is that Windsor Castle is kind of a rehearsal in a way, for what the bigger state visit potentially in September.
Yeah, Windsor Castle hasn't hosted a state visit since 2014, so it's been a while. But it was really nice, actually. It was really nice being at the castle for the state
I'd
visit.
like it noted, though, that the Buckingham Palace upgrade will be significantly more expensive than our little spruce up.
They had 369 million.
Yeah, we
so
don't
just a little bit more.
369 million over 10 years, and we've had £22.50 over a week.
A week.
And I think we've done well with our £22.50, to be perfectly honest. Right, so you, when you do the state visit, you guys get to sort of oversee everything. And in our little WhatsApp group, you were sending me lots of pictures of behind the scenes and clambering up scaffolding and stuff.
Well, I suppose it's just to let you know, because I think you have this opinion that we just spend all of our time sitting in thrones having sort of food brought to us. So this is the kind of thing that we have to do in order to sort of access the camera positions. This was Lizzie filming me going up. I offered to film her climbing up the steps. She said no, thank you.
No.
But there I am at the top, and we had an amazing
What's on the other side?
vantage point.
The station. It was really odd because they wanted to get the president and the king in a carriage and do the whole procession through town. You have to start that procession from somewhere. So they chose Windsor and Eton Riverside Station, which many people have got their South Western Railway to and from. And in the car park of the station, they built this huge stage for the beginning of the visit. We timed it, didn't we? They were there for exactly 11 minutes, so the stage wasn't in use for very long. But where we were in that camera position was looking over at Monsieur Macron and Brigitte Macron arriving, and then seeing the King and Queen for the first time.
We had a great vantage point. They were right in front of us. We saw them getting into the carriages, and then off they went through Windsor town. So people did actually get to see them. And what will be really interesting is when President Trump comes later this year, whether they're able to do that element. Whether when he came previously for a state visit, he didn't ride in a carriage along the Mall. He was choppered straight into Buckingham Palace, and that's because there were concerns around security.
Chopper in on the other side of the walls and not actually risking anything in town itself, because actually we don't know this, but there's likely to be some protests. Remember what happened in 2019.
But also, Windsor's a lot smaller than an environment. I know lots of people that are watching and listening wouldn't have been to Windsor before, but it's not central London, is it?
No, I mean, it's got a big castle and a few shops, but if there's going to be some protests in Windsor, you'll know it.
Yeah.
The whole town will know.
I know we talk about it a lot when we have these state visits, but you watch it and you realise there are very few countries in the world that have the level of pomp and ceremony that we have when you have heads of state coming to visit us. So it's a big big deal for them.
Yeah, I was
They
really
really
surprised.
laid it on, didn't they?
Oh, I mean, so thickly. But for a start, William and Kate went and welcomed them at the airport. We can touch on fashion here if you want. Kate was wearing.
What was Kate wearing, Chris?
Christian Dior at the beginning, French designer, I'm told.
Yes,
quite
Christian
important.
Dior is a French designer, yeah.
But, so there was the welcome off the plane, then there was the carriage procession. I was quite surprised. There were some American broadcasters there, and they were getting all excited about, look, there's King Charles and Camilla. I mean, here's the plane picture. If you're watching this, you can see William and Kate doing their arrival at RAF Northolt. But, yeah, these American broadcasters were very excited by it, not really because it's a visit by a French head of state. They were excited by it because of the kind of thing that we can lay on. Yeah. And we lay it on very well. There's that stage I was talking about, which had its 11...
outside the train station.
Outside the train station. 11 minutes they spent there. And then the cars left, as you can see. And, of course, they could have driven up the hill, but it looks so much better if you do it in horse and carriage.
Gorgeous. Now, lots of the chat regarding the state visit is, of course, the dinner. What do you feed all those people? I mean, it's not like, you go to like an awards ceremony or someone's wedding and you turn up and it's sort of like a cold bit of chicken, some carrots, a bit of broccoli, and then like a chocolate dome or something for dessert.
There was a cold bit of chicken on the menu, to be fair.
But what do you give them when it's a state dinner?
So they very carefully create these menus, and this time they curated the menu, the royal household, with French chef Raymond Blanc. He is an ambassador for the King's Foundation, and he not only created but he cooked. He was in the Windsor Castle kitchens cooking the first course and the dessert. So the first course was a selection of summer vegetables from the gardens of Le Manoir, which is where Raymond Blanc's restaurant is, and then they had chicken with asparagus and a tarragon cream, and for pudding they had an iced black currant parfait.
Where was the chicken from?
An estate in Wales.
Do you know what the state was called?
I do, yes, but
we actually the state was RHUG, and we have Dan outside, Dan Howes, one of our producers who is Welsh, was helping us say it's not Rug, it's Rheg. So the Rheg estate in Wales. Okay. That's where the chicken came from.
And how many people?
So the St George's Hall, which is where the state banquet was held, seats around 160 people, and they had one long table, which was about...
You went in, didn't you?
I did. So ahead of
all
the guests arriving, I went in for a press preview, so you get to see the table. And what always strikes me when you go in for these previews is the amazing smell of all the flowers, which are seasonal and hand-picked from the gardens of Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle. And the table was mahogany, and each place has a name setting. And you walk around the whole table, getting to see who's sitting where, who's sitting next to who, what famous names are there. And
we're looking at Mr. Mick Jagger and yes.
Elton John, David Furnish, Mary Earps, the footballer, because she now plays for Paris Saint-Germain. It's fascinating.
That is
going
got
in
to be
there.
one of the most complicated jobs ever, is the seating plan.
The seating.
People stress about it at weddings.
Interesting. The late Queen, but also the current King and Queen, do actually take an interest in it. So they always go in, actually just before Lizzie, I think, gets to go in. But the King goes in and just checks kind of, do we want this person sitting there next to that person? They do take a really personal interest in it. It's fascinating.
But the one of the most fascinating things is how they clean this table. So there was a documentary on years ago about the cleaning of the long mahogany table, and people get up on the table in these sort of special socks with essentially kind of cleaning mallets because you can't, it's so massive, you can't just sort of give it a quick dust. And they have to clean it sort of standing on it. And this thing, they started construction about a week before the state visit, and then they started laying all the cutlery and glasses on Saturday before the banquet, which was on Tuesday.
Is it very well timed? Are you sat there for ages, sort of? When you're at a wedding, you end up sat next to someone that's like really boring, and sometimes
you can't move.
Sort of swap seats. You can't do.
There's none of that, and also it wasn't very well timed because President Macron had a series of engagements in London, and we'll play you a bit of his speech in a moment. But he was late back from those visits, so the actual dinner didn't actually start until about 8:30, wasn't it? We were getting the speeches.
Oh, that's late.
And everyone was like, hanging around.
Oh dear.
Just waiting for their cocktails
and the cocktails and the champers.
But interestingly, the toast that they gave was done with English sparkling wine, not
from a French champagne house, though. So it's all they think very, very carefully about blending the British, but also with the country that they're hosting. And it was, I mean, the whole visit was incredibly, the King and President Macron have a very warm relationship, and you really saw that throughout the whole visit. There were so many, kissing hands, kissing cheeks. I think the King and President Macron clasped hands for about 28 seconds, someone counted, on their farewell.
Seconds.
If I could reach you, I'd try and hold your hand for 28 seconds.
It's a long time, isn't it?
Away.
So it was very warm between the two of them.
And the speeches and jokes, but don't forget, this was all about the welcome before they got into the nitty-gritty politics and the issue, the really big issue of like what they must have decided between them is to call it the migration issue that obviously everyone's aware of, irregular migration. That's what the King referred to in his speech. It's the first time I think I've heard him refer actually to the boats themselves. And this was about the royal welcome before the tricky politics in the following days.
That's soft power we always talk about.
Soft power, I mean, that always threads through when we talk about these things. Yeah. And I think increasingly, because of world events, we're understanding just how important that soft power is. But I think what's quite lucky for President Macron is he isn't disliked here. They are our nearest European neighbour. So therefore, when he lightens the mood, as he did when he was making jokes in his speech, it really does have an impact on the room, doesn't it? Let's take a listen.
Do not misunderstand me. I'm not going so far as to say that England gave birth to the French Revolution. However, I have to confess that we love monarchy, but especially when it's not at home. France will loan the United Kingdom the Bayeux Tapestry. I have to say it took probably more years to deliver this project than all the Brexit texts.
So, Bayeux Tapestry, we can talk about that, but there was also the mention of Brexit in front of all those MPs and Lords in the Houses of Parliament. And then, of course, this reference to we love monarchy, as long as it's not at home. So.
Do you know what, though? I do appreciate a President Macron speech, and I think he's got very good speech writers, because the jokes were genuinely funny and people were genuinely laughing. And I think that sort of jovial sense of politics doesn't always exist from lots of world leaders at the moment. And I think Macron getting up and doing that does have an impact, and it sort of shows we're not chummy, but we are close.
And the thing he was mentioning about the Bayeux Tapestry, I mean, it's actually really historic. It has not been in this country for 900 years. And of course, it depicts a very famous moment when a Norman king came over, William the Conqueror, and had a rather great success in 1066. But the fact that that is coming into the British Museum, again, this is all the soft stuff before they got onto the hard politics. But I mean, even that in itself it is a really, really significant moment.
Yeah. Can we talk fashion before we move on?
I've done that. Christian Dior.
No, that was at the train station. That was, when she'd got off like the 3:58 or whatever. No, they were at the airport, weren't they? But it wasn't an EasyJet flight, was it? Let's talk about the fashion at the banquet. What did Kate wear?
Kate was in a long red Givenchy gown again, really thinking about what they're wearing, going with a French designer. But it was Sarah Burton for Givenchy.
This is where I got confused, because Sarah Burton designed someone's wedding dress, didn't she?
So Sarah Burton used to work for Alexander McQueen, and when she did, she designed...
Okay.
And that was Kate's wedding dress?
Wedding dress designer, exactly.
But didn't Meghan have a...
Meghan's wedding dress was Givenchy.
So you doubt my fashion knowledge. I've just proved
I
you
feel
wrong.
like
levels.
Lizzie and I have taught you a lot about fashion.
Yep, learning. It's a great learning curve.
The only way is up from here, Chris Ship. The only way is up. Now let's move on to talking about state visits of old, because you know that we like to do like a bit of an archive section on this show. And so we were thinking, what can we show this week? And it seems quite obvious to show a previous state visit, which wasn't at Windsor Castle, was it? It would have been at Buckingham Palace. And we're going back to 1950, aren't we?
1950, so King George VI was king, of course. It was a couple of years before Elizabeth II ascended to the throne. And this was a visit of a French president then. I think, just to make the point that these things happen all the time. We were, for example, with the king in France, only last year?
2023.
2023, last year, before.
No,
before last year.
Yep.
And, it is all... And I was just reading, actually, some of the speeches, even from like 1976, when Giscard Giscard d'Estaing came here. It's all about warming relations and how our two governments going to work together. It's kind of like it's a massive repetition, but underneath it all is that, I mean, the key point about this visit, of course, is the first visit of any European leader or a state visit since Brexit. So that is why this was a big political moment. But again, looking at the shots of 1950, of course, you can see why these visits have gone off the side.
Vincent Auriol and Madame Auriol.
Vincent Auriol, yes.
Yeah. Reaffirming the French-Anglo alliance after the Second World War. So let's take a look.
The climax of this state visit of the French president and his wife was their attendance at the gala performance by the Sadler's Wells Ballet at the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden. The arrival of members of the royal family, who were received by the Earl of Clarendon, the Lord Chamberlain, underlined the brilliance of the occasion. As host and hostess, their Majesties received the President and Madame Auriol. Could there be any doubt that with this last scintillating display of royal hospitality, the President and Madame Auriol would be returning to France fully assured of the complete success of their visit?
You know, that was just like how I did my report on Tuesday.
I was thinking,
we had an orchestra.
That? Could so be Chris's voice right now? But do you know what that showed? I mean, 1950. It's not like a decade ago.
Well, and also he's not the most famous of French presidents. We're not talking about a Charles de Gaulle here, but you know, here is a moment. What 5 years after the end of the Second World War, when Britain and France are, you know, showing that we do still like each other,
and we love ceremony, don't we, Lizzie? So, you know, it doesn't matter. We could go through all the archives and go through all the state visits, but they all seemed quite similar in terms of what happens traditionally and what people wear. And, you know, you have a state dinner and all of that stuff. And there's something to be said for keeping those traditions. Isn't there?
There's, you know, the traditions stay. We still have the 2 incoming state visits every year. They're still used for that soft power. And we're talking about resetting relations with France, you know, in a post-Brexit era. But they are used and designed in exactly the same way, even though we're in 2025. But there are modern touches, and we will come to one of those modern touches a little bit later in the show.
Oh, yes. Now we're teasing people.
You made the point that, you know, it's worth reminding everyone that it's not the king that decides who come, it's the government who decides who comes here based on the priorities of the government, and we can look ahead to Donald Trump's visit for that reason. You know, Keir Starmer really wants Donald Trump to be here because he wants to have the best possible relations, and he knows that Donald Trump loves our royal family. So hence why this visit is happening.
But the government doesn't, I mean, yes, it's them that chooses it, but it's down to the palace and, you know, and the staff there exactly how that is enacted.
Of course, yeah.
In terms of the bells and whistles of it. That's not the government that organises.
No, it's bells and whistles is what the palace does, and they do it well, and they've got carriages at their disposal. So, you know, why drive up the high street when you can go in a horse and carriage?
Yeah.
But it is about, you know, this particular visit was about how can we have a better relationship after what have been some very, very difficult years. Brexit was 2016, the vote, and we've had all of those texts, all the toing and froing, all the arguments with the European Union, and now we're saying, or the government is saying, we want to be friends, we want to have as close a relationship as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that we've not only been there, but now they have been to us. I think one thing that's going to be really interesting come September when President Trump comes is that these state visits take a very similar format each time when you look at how they're laid out. You know, you have that welcome ceremony, you have viewing items from the Royal Collection Trust relating to the country that you're welcoming, you have the state banquet. Trump said in his press conference a while ago that he was looking forward to the fest and how unprecedented this all was. So what's going to be interesting is how they elevate this to be different from his last state visit or indeed other state visits. And can they...
How do you make a state visit a fest?
A fest.
Well, I reckon
Donald
getting
Trump.
the organisers of like the Notting Hill Carnival get like a couple floats travelling behind the carriage. Then it's a festival, guys.
Then it's a fest.
Then it's a big fest.
That'll be really interesting to see come September.
I mean, September's going to be really, really interesting. So,
it will be.
My understanding is also that Prince Harry's here at around about that time as well. So we've got 2 visits from America in the autumn.
Is Harry going to the state dinner?
I'm not sure they'll necessarily overlap.
Oh,
from what I know.
teasing me there, Chris.
But I mean, the big question, of course, when Harry comes here is will he not see his dad? Because last time Harry was in town for the Invictus anniversary, King Charles was too busy doing other things, matters of state, and they never saw one another. So I think every time Harry comes here, it's going to be, will he see his dad, will he not?
Won't he? Yeah.
Particularly what he said about him and his health in that interview quite recently.
Well, yeah, I think until Prince Harry, all the time that Prince Harry keeps talking to books, to giving interviews, podcasts, every time he keeps talking about his family publicly, it's very difficult for them to make any sort of, amends on that relationship.
But the summer is long. A lot can happen in that time.
Yeah, and it's true that, you're right to say that. I think that I wouldn't put any hope on the William-Harry relationship being resolved anytime soon, if not ever. But I think a father-son relationship is different. And, if the two of them could make up, they would. But they're just aware of everything that's happened recently.
Very quickly, there was news on Prince Andrew this week, right?
Yes, we haven't talked about Prince Andrew for a while, have we, on this show? But basically, the FBI have decided to draw a line now under their investigations into Jeffrey Epstein. And it kind of means that were Prince Andrew to want to do any travelling and go on a plane, it's a lot easier for him to do that now, because previously he was always at risk of being arrested, potentially. Yes. But it doesn't really change very much for him. He's still a man whose reputation is in tatters. He still lives rattling around that big house in Windsor Great Park. Still not very much to do, apart from a bit of horse riding and playing golf and, as we understand it,
sounds like a great life.
Gaming. It doesn't change a great deal, but I think, at least from a legal perspective, and we should be clear, Prince Andrew's never been convicted of anything in a court of law. But from a legal perspective, it means that threat from the FBI that might have been there before isn't there anymore.
I want to move on to Queen Camilla. Were you and the Queen at Wimbledon together the other day?
Together is pushing it. That's a bit of a stretch. We were both sitting on the same court at the same time, though.
That's together, isn't it?
It's sort of
I would say that's together.
I could see her.
Were you in the royal box? Because our colleague Robert Peston was in the royal box.
I wasn't in the royal box.
Sorry, so Robert got in the royal box and we didn't get in the royal box.
I know.
I feel like we're missing something.
We're missing a trick here, next year. But yeah, I was there for fun, not for work, and it just happened that Queen Camilla was there on the same day. Yeah, little wave. No, of course she didn't.
She was there with her sister Annabelle Elliott.
She was.
And she's not the patron of Wimbledon, that's Kate. If you were to ask us, will Kate go at the weekend for the women's final, men's final? I think we'd say likely, but they never announce it, of course, until the day.
Well, the princess is, she's patron of the All England Club. She loves her tennis,
Because she plays, doesn't she?
She plays. She's very accomplished. I watched her once. When Emma Raducanu had won the US Open, I watched her and the Princess and Emma playing doubles together, and the Princess of Wales is incredibly good. She really is, and even Emma said afterwards, she was like, "Yeah, I'm really impressed."
Being in the royal family thing hadn't worked out. She could have been like a Wimbledon.
She's actually very sporty generally. Yeah. She's got good hand-eye coordination, and so I would expect to see her at the tennis. It's something she really enjoys, and we saw her there last year. She was at both the men's and women's last year, and it wouldn't surprise me if some of the kids joined her.
It's hot though.
It is hot,
especially to bring the kids out in that heat, because we're currently, London is one of the areas that's in the midst of a heat wave, so it will be hot.
And the sun, the royal box is right in the sun. Poor them.
Oh, poor them. Got lovely seats, but they're in the sun.
Going back to the banquet, the state banquet.
This is the modern twist.
Yeah. They were giving cocktails.
Yeah.
So they were given cocktails. So I decided to give you guys a bit of a treat.
Okay.
Because
I've got a treat for you as well. But
and probably for me as well. So we've decided to... we have recreated the cocktails from the state banquet. And so they're up... and they've been delivered.
Wow.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
So this is...
I thought we could do like a really lovely tray, but... Looks like we just picked something up from the kitchen.
Look at these glasses, though.
Okay, the glasses are amazing. Okay.
So the cocktail...
Oh, wow, they really do have alcohol in them. I can smell it a mile off.
The cocktail is called the L'Entente.
Okay.
And
pick yours up, Chris.
As in L'Entente Cordiale.
Which actually the King rebranded
it, didn't he?
the...
L'Entente Amicale.
Amicale. Cheers.
Okay, cheers.
He
Cheers.
said at the end of his speech, we are no longer just understand one another, we are friends with one another. So this was...
Ooh, golly.
I can smell the pastis.
That is rather...
It's
I can taste it almost like aniseed.
aniseed, exactly.
Ricard.
So the l'entente, this is a tradition that the king has introduced, that he gets a mixologist for state banquets to create...
Do you not get a mixologist every time you throw a party? Yeah.
To create a cocktail that sort of is a blend of British, but also the country that we're hosting. So this has got in it British gin,
Right.
French pastis, and lemon curd. And on top, it also had
That's the cream.
the lemon. And on top, they had dried French
This is where I come in.
cornflower and English roses.
So we haven't got that. Instead, we have...
Well, look at this. Look what I've managed to get my hands on. Do you know what these are?
Is that the as ever sprinkles?
These are the as ever flour sprinkles, much talked about and sprinkled on many, many things.
We
If
have
anyone's-
talked about Meghan's sprinkles so much.
So I talked about the cornflower and the rose. Actually, these, if you read the ingredients,
dried
they are-
rose
and cornflour.
So to recap, for anybody that hasn't been listening, and quite frankly, why would you not been listening over all these months? As part of Meghan's As Ever range, there are dried flowers, which are sprinkles, which she claims if you sprinkle over anything sweet or savoury,
It can elevate your everyday.
It can elevate your everyday. So, Chris, I would like you to elevate our everyday.
I can elevate your everyday.
Yeah.
On the back of here, it says, it's a message from Meghan. It says, an easy way to sprinkle beauty into your everyday.
Well,
As ever.
are we gonna
Can you
sprinkle some beauty
into
Yep.
my everyday,
Do you want any
please?
particular flowers? I mean,
No, and
a
I
little
trust you've
sprinkle.
washed your hands. 'Cause,
always.
You know.
There we go.
okay.
How many do I put?
I don't know.
Do you know what?
How
We've
many
said
does
in previous
Meghan
episodes.
put?
So
Do you know what? It is pretty.
Is it elevating your everyday right
Yeah,
now, Lizzie?
I like it.
Okay.
I think it's
Elevated.
pretty.
Okay, can you elevate my everyday? Because Lizzie's got a massive smile on her face.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
How do you feel right now?
unelevated.
unelevated. And now?
And how do you feel now?
Elevated.
Massively elevated.
Shall we try them with our sprinkles?
Okay, shall we wait for Chris to
Chris?
finish sprinkling?
I'm not sure that Meghan does it necessarily for the flavour, more for the sort of...
The
I mean,
aesthetic.
it's very, very
If I
aesthetically
turn it to the
pleasing.
camera, it's gonna... Right, cheers.
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 Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Let's elevate.
Doesn't taste any different.
No different, but it is aesthetically pleasing.
It's just so I must say that the king does very well with his choice of cocktail, and I love that we have recreated this. We all still
full
have
marks to Caroline for sourcing not only the lemon curd, plus the gin. And I had to do a little Deliveroo run earlier to get the pasties because that was quite hard to find.
That was it. You on a bike and you managed to get it. So thank you very much.
Glasses and everything. I think
It's
Caroline's done a great
gorgeous.
job.
But the problem is we all still have work to do. So we will not be. We're merely sipping, not downing the cocktail.
Well, Chris is tucked in.
Not going to look at my
We'll see what happens, Chris. Anyway, we have come to the end of the show. Probably it's a very good place to finish since we're all now on the cocktails. We'll be back next week as normal. But if you want to catch up on any of our previous shows, and you can find them all on ITVX and YouTube, or listen wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to subscribe while you're there so that you never miss an episode. Thank you, Lizzie and Chris, as always. Caroline, thank you so much for providing us
as well.
with the cocktails.
Your lunch.
I will be sampling more of the sprinkles, I'm sure, over the next week. Thank you all for joining us. We shall see you next time. For now, though, we're going to keep sipping on the King's cocktails.